let me know that I'm doing something right. So I'm proud to be a teacher. Though the struggles may be hard, the nights may be long, I'm proud to say that I made the right decision in my career.
Good morning. My name is Elisa Bevins, and I'm the safety facilitator at Riverdale School, and I work with these marvelous ladies here. I've been with the district for 15 years as a teacher, 2 years as a sub. I was telling one of the other speakers that I graduated from Powell Elementary a long, long time ago. And it was always my dream to be a teacher. It was a teacher that really encouraged everyone in the classroom. Everybody in that 8th grade class was like, we going to college because we try to be like Miss Pash. She is the best teacher. She was no nonsense. She came to school and we were like, we wanted to please her. And as I started working with my career and working with students in our district, I think as a team, we built trust with our students, with our parents. When they see us or if something is happening, they feel comfortable in saying, hey, Ms. Bivens, this is going on, or the students are like, they want to tell me what's going on, even if it's things I really don't want to hear. I always take the time to listen, or if I can at that time, I'll be like, hold on, I'll be right back. And they trust and believe that our word is bond. Whatever we say, we're going to do it. And if there's a problem, even when parents call or they have something that's going on and they'll let us know, and we be like, okay, we'll talk to the students, we'll take care of that. So I think a big part of our school and is building relationships with our community, and they know that they can depend on us if there's a problem or if they need any kind of assistance, whether it's how can we get these students here on time that don't live in our district actually, but we still have to do what we can for our students.
So going to go down to the end next and have Steinmetz College Prep introduce themselves.
Good morning or afternoon, morning still, everyone. My name is Jaime Jaramillo. I'm the principal at Steinmetz College Prep. We're a general high school on the northwest side. I've worked for CPS, this is my 17th year. I worked as a teacher for 5 years, 2 years as attendance director, 8 years as an AP, and this is my first year as principal at Steinmetz. I've been at Steinmetz for 16 years. And since the age of 16, I grew up in the community, and I've always held Steinmetz very close to my heart. We are a diverse community. We are approximately 70% Hispanic, 20% African American, 10% mixed, and about 90% free and reduced lunch. And we've been working at this relationship with Northwest Side Housing Center, our community partner, for about, 5 years now? For about 5 years. And I guess I'll pass it over to Ms. Vanessa Valentin. She is our LSC president, as well as she works for Northwest Side Housing Center and much more.
Thank you. Good morning, buenos dias. My name is Vanessa Valentin. I represent today Northwest Side Housing Center, which is a community-based organization in the Belmont Cragen community, serving 80,000 residents, 1/3 of that being students under the age of 18, and the fastest growing Latino community in the city of Chicago. I got very fortunate to meet Steinmetz College Prep, my neighborhood school, that at the time when we started doing a community plan, all I would hear was very negative stigma about the school. As a parent, I was gonna make the big mistake of going to select enrollment and not support my neighborhood school. And today I stand proud parent and active LSC. So I'm excited to talk about today the importance of parent engagement and the partnership that we educators and parents and nonprofits need to have together. So thank you.
And next we will move to Kilmer to let them introduce themselves.
Good morning. My name is Jean McEwen Papagiannis. I am the very proud principal of Kilmer Elementary School. This is finishing my 6th year at Kilmer, and I'm coming up on 20 years in CPS in August. Kilmer is on the very, very northernmost side of this city. You go a couple blocks and you're in Evanston. It is in Rogers Park, which is essentially the most diverse neighborhood in the city of Chicago. We have 54 known languages. We have over 80 countries represented at our school. We're about 98% free and reduced lunch. We have a 20% mobility rate, over 20% students with disabilities. We are 100% neighborhood school. We seek to serve the neighborhood in the purest form possible.
Hi, I'm Kelly Ankers. I'm the school counselor, and I want to say I'm a real school counselor. My principal lets me counsel, and I'm so happy about that. I also live in Rogers Park. I've lived there almost 30 years. I raised 2 children. They're now grown. We are very active in Rogers Park politics. My oldest son is very active in fighting gentrification so that the families that come to Kilmer can afford to live in the neighborhood.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Calhoun. I am the social worker at Kilmer, if you couldn't tell by my t-shirt. One of the great things is I was formerly a teacher, and actually I taught in the Northwest Side. We spoke recently because I was at Camrus Elementary for a number of years, and one of the things that I learned during my time there was the importance of creating school community. Getting to Kilmer and seeing that some of the things I had done as a teacher were being implemented, and all of a sudden we're starting to do restorative practices, we're starting to use circles. It was one of those things as a social worker you're kind of like excited about, because it's like, all right, cool, because this is a school that's really building and trying to help kids kind of work through these issues, which one, makes my job easier, but 2, it shows the commitment that everybody's trying to make. One small story was that when I was assigned to Kilmer, I was like, yay, I get to go to the north side. It's gonna be easy. Woo! Woo! Wow. On top of all the languages that are spoken, on top of all the cultures that exist, it's important to acknowledge the large refugee population that exists within that neighborhood and that we have within the school. And when we speak of trauma, there's so many different levels to it, and then you really get to see it from all these different cultural perspectives, which one, opened up my eyes, which was just an amazing moment, but 2, it really kind of leans on you as a person to search deep within your own practices and to figure out how can I connect, how can I reach, how can I do a better job to assure that this child in front of me is going to be as successful as the next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Casey Pilgrim. I'm the school psychologist at Joyce Kilmer Elementary. This is my first year there. I have been delighted to walk into this community because it's such an important community of people coming together there. Previously in my career, I've been a psych for about 6 or 7 years. I worked in schools that were, in terms of the population, majority South Asian. I worked in schools where the majority of the population is Latino students. Majority of the population in some of the schools I worked at have been Black students. And something that has really struck me in all my work in all these different communities is that no matter where you go, kids want to learn and families care about kids. And when enough resources can be put into a place, everyone is capable of doing some really incredible things. In relationship to trauma, especially watching people come through trauma and overcome trauma, they come with this well of wisdom, this moon of wisdom that I think can has the possibility of helping liberate us in the world. And so I'm so happy that we're sitting here talking about this today and talking about ways that we can create equity in the world.
And so one of the things that you notice is that we're talking about several different types of collaboration. With Steinmetz, it is inside and outside of the school collaboration. With Kilmer, it's collaborating across all of these different roles. And with Riverdale, it's including something that we really argue for, safety, teachers and administrators all together, and not thinking of these as siloed roles. And so the next question I'm going to ask, and start with Steinmetz and for each group to talk about, is what is one moment that you can think of that illustrates what is possible through collaboration that wasn't possible without that collaboration?
This one works. So instead of describing just a pivotal one situation, one moment, I'm gonna start with talking about the school environment and having the right administration. It's important because having worked at Steinmetz for so many years, I've worked for different administrators, and I've seen that the attitude, the mentality was keep the community out. We don't want anybody here. They don't need to be in our business. They don't need to tell us what to do. Keep them out. I don't know why they want to run for LSC. I don't know what they want here. Just let us do our thing. And I learned and I grew as a teacher and as an administrator in that environment until a new principal came in, and he actually worked at Steinmetz. Previously, he worked at as a principal in Little Village, and then he came back to be principal at Steinmetz. And I was fortunate enough to continue on as an assistant principal under him. And the first thing he said was, don't fight the community partners, don't fight the LSC, don't fight people that want to come in here and use our school as a hub. And so at first, okay, I'll respect that. I mean, you're my boss, I get it. But it was a little confusing at first, and it did cause some tension. Because we went from a very protected, don't let them in mentality to we're gonna open the doors and this is the way we're gonna do it from now on. So it takes courage, it takes the right administration, because that lays the foundation to allow all the other things to happen. And so what the previous principal, the school he was at, he had a community partner in Lasse. He reached out to them and told them, I want to do what we had over there. We had a hub, a community school, where it was open, all the time on the weekends, the weekdays, and we want to do that same thing here at Steinmetz. So that's when they told us, reach out to Northwest Side Housing Center. We don't have in Lasse on the north side, but they're doing a lot of great work and they're doing things that are very similar. And so that right there, and I remember those conversations and that time, that was pivotal in order to allow community partners and allow parents in. And I think we're still struggling with that just a little bit, in which people the word is out there, but people sometimes are surprised when they come in and they see and they said, wow, I can't believe you have all these things. I can't believe you have all these activities. I can't believe you have a parent university. How did you guys get the field? How did you do this? How did you get this program? How did you get this grant? Well, it's because of those same community partnerships, those same parents and all the people we pushed out for so many years that we locked out. It's because of those partnerships is why we're able to do the things we're able to do now.
And for Northwest Side Housing Center was knocking on the door at Liz Chicago, was saying we need to do a community plan. We're a community with many needs. We're a community that needs resources, but our community is not able to identify themselves. We're lost, right? We didn't have an identity. So it was that opportunity that brought us together, gathering 1,000 community residents to work on a community plan that focused on education, that focused on health. And we knew that those committees needed not to be led just by the institutions, but we needed parents, we needed community residents to co-lead those committees so that we were able to make an impact in the community.
Always gotta double check. As far as pivotal moments, it's always just learning more from what the students kind of bring in. One of the beautiful things that Gene has done as principal, is making sure that there are so many connections within outside agencies and outside groups. I could go through a list of names where there's connections with Loyola University and their healthcare clinics. There's C4 that does work with some students. We referred out to Casa Central, Casa Romero. There's like a Centro Romero. There's so many different agencies that have been willing to work with the school that has made it easier. But when you think about pivotal moments, you're once again just basing off what the kids are bringing in, what the families are bringing in. If a kid was in a refugee camp for months at a time and something happened, when they come in, we're looking like, all right, we need to pair up and provide services for this student. There's only so much we can do within the school setting, which once again, as somebody said earlier, there's somebody listening, we need more social workers and more counselors and more healthcare professionals that are gonna come in and really help us. Because if you want kids to achieve academically, you better give them the support socially and emotionally. Sorry about that tangent, but it's important to see that whatever the community is having, those struggles, that the school can become that hub and then become that base where you're allowed to provide outside services too.
Good morning. For Riverdale School, and as the administrator, I came into a turnaround school. So Riverdale School was a turnaround school when I arrived. And so my first aim when I arrived was to build community within the school and community outside of the school. So that was my platform. That's what I came in. All my teachers understood my whole purpose, and I shared with my staff on day one, was children first. So everything we did was intentional in building communities. We started with just community walks. And I started with community walks because my teachers, when I arrived, weren't necessarily familiar with the community in which my students lived and the lives of my students. So that was the key piece for me, because when we don't understand the simple environment that they're coming from, it's hard to understand why they curse you out or why they use those explicit words, why they use such profanity. It's not necessarily, sometimes they're using profanity as endearment, and we take it as, oh, they're cursing. But they're actually showing you affection because that's what they receive. So that was the biggest piece. And my second piece was intentional hiring. So during the hiring process, I make sure that my teachers are on the team where they have a voice. We actually have a community member on occasion on the team to understand that a person coming into our Riverdale family has to understand that we may be dysfunctional at times because we're a family. So we have disagreements. However, we are a family. So we're very protective of our parents and our students and our staff within our community. We do have partnerships, very strong partnerships with the Partnership for Resilience, which is with the Governor State University, one of our biggest partners. We also are economically supported by ArcelorMittal, which is one of our donors through Cormick Foundation. They also support our school, which provides our students with outreach and outside supports.
So one of the questions that can, as we go down this issue of partnership, and as one of our teachers is holding the microphone, how do we enable partnership to happen across roles within a school? As we go down, it's one of the things that would be helpful.
For roles inside of our school, we decided that we should have a climate meeting. That means the principal cannot be a part of that meeting. So we get to discuss issues, concerns, because we have to have a voice as well to make sure that we are being supported as well by our principal. I'm the go-to person. So once we have the meeting, I go and address I don't give any names. I go and talk to the principal and I tell her this is the issues that our faculty are having, and we need you to address them in a timely fashion. And I go back and report back to my colleagues and let them know, this is what was the response, this is what's gonna transpire, this is what's gonna happen, and look for change. If change does not come back, we have another meeting, going, you know, and then that's how it goes. And whereas I don't single out no one, everybody's confidence stays within the meeting. No one is ratted out on or snitched on, because I want them to feel comfortable and safe being in a meeting where it's just us being open and honest and making sure that their needs are being met so they can be, their students' needs can be met as well. So we host at least once a month, and then we try to make sure that everyone's needs are met, whether it's maintenance, technology, materials, and which we just got our big order in for our materials. So we was like, yay, thank you for listening to us. So it does work when you allow your principal allow you to have that moment, whereas you can discuss with your peers and be honest. Like, we're really honest. Like, we really get down to the nitty gritty about what the issue is. And then we just all collaborate to make sure that everyone is supported, whether it's being after school, coming before school, texting, emailing. I mean, we do it all. So no matter, like today, we had a conference and they know we're here, but they're emailing us like, everything's okay, your kid's okay. You know, they just want us, they're on the field trip. My kids are on the field trip right now. And I'm, oh my God, I wish I could be there with them. But they're just letting me know everything is okay. Your kids are fine. And I'm a mama bear. I want to make sure my kids are okay. So they're just checking in with me, letting me know that everything is okay. Be fine. Enjoy the conference. We have your kids. So that's how we collaborate. We just want to make sure that everyone knows that we are a family. Yes, we're dysfunctional, but we are a good dysfunctional because we work through our issues and we figure out a common denominator, which is always going to be our kids, our staff, and making sure everyone is having a place.
I do want to add one thing. Ms. Tony is our climate president. I have a very good relationship with the union as well as my staff. So that's very important. I was a teacher for 15 years. I am a proponent. I support unions. I think they're amazing. They're awesome. So I want to say that to say that Ms. Tony also is part of that union. So for her, she initially was kind of nervous, you know, when you're going to tell the administrator something they don't necessarily want to hear. I was like, you can tell me anything. I'm that parent. You can tell me anything because I want to improve right in my practice. So as an administrator, in order for me to get better, I have to be willing to hear the voice. May not say what I wanted to say, but I have to be willing to hear it. So when the first meeting she came in, she was very nervous and she brought a list of things. I said, okay, I'm also administrator my style is don't bring me a list of complaints unless you have the same list of solutions. So let's talk about this. You all would like to see this, this, and this happen. Okay, what were the solutions? What were some of the choices? What were some of our options? I'm also a person that goes out and builds economic relationships and support. So we have to figure out, okay, how can we fund it? Because funding is always at the base and the bottom of everything. So how do we get it funded? So for me, I actually spend a lot of nights just searching for grants, searching for funding, and then I'll come back and I'll establish a team to say, okay, let's write a grant. So I have one of my grant writing partners, she's actually recording, she's sitting in the audience. She helped to write the preschool grant. So we actually went from having 5 classrooms to now having 11 preschool classrooms. So it's a lot of hard work. It really is, but you have to have the staff to support you.
So similar to Riverdale in the sense that Kilmer, when we got to Kilmer, there had been, it wasn't a turnaround situation, but Kilmer was on the close list the year of the 50 closes. And I showed up in April, and I was the 13th changeover in principals in 3 years' time. So there was a lot going on. There were far too many kids in the building to even consider to have it closed, but we were at the very bottom of, remember when you used to have like the
the real 3 levels. You're on the very bottom of level 3. And I said, all right, hey, we're number 1 at something. We just go from here. Let's go. What are we gonna do? I'm a special ed teacher by trade, so collaboration is in my soul. We gotta collaborate or not gonna get anything done. Initially what we did was we just looked at a school a neighborhood school with so many amazing families, so many amazing kids, and so many amazing teachers who had just gone through really a ton of trauma and said, what do we do? Let's come together, let's collaborate, let's figure this out. Let's set up some systems. Let's reestablish some tradition in this building so we have a sense of pride in who we are and in what we do as teachers, as administrators, and as a school. And let's go from there. And every year we look at where are our partnerships. Once upon a time when we had to have the RTI team or the MTSS team, we didn't have enough people to have a BHT. We didn't have enough resources to do that. Over time, we've been able to, I think that's been one of the biggest awesome things that has happened this year on top of the work we've been doing around restorative practices is that we were able to establish a true BHT, behavioral health team, with a real counselor who counsels and doesn't case manage, and a school psychologist who does school psychology, and a school social worker who actually does school social work, and teachers and administrators and outside partnerships. And we're working to try and figure out how to serve our ever-changing, ever-growing, massively diverse population of kids who are amazing.
So one of the next questions that I want to ask, and anyone can jump in for to answer it, is you're doing all of these fabulous things, and you're helping many of our other schools in the audience inspire them in terms of seeing what's possible. What are some of the things that also help you know how much work there still is to be done? So what are some of those things? Sometimes it can be daunting to say, oh, well, clearly they've got it all together. You know, how can we get there? But then it's also helpful to know that even though you've been able to do all these things, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
I was really grateful to hear from the principal of Powell, and I couldn't believe how many people were saying on that panel. I loved it. The teachers, we are doing this for the teachers. We are doing this. And because we have 800 students, the national average for a counselor is 250 to 1. There's 1 in the 800. And I also do high school applications, and I do Naviance and all that. And I think that what we do need to work more on is building teacher competency, because there is still a lot of, you know, this child has trauma, this child is acting out, you know, I need Brian, Casey, or Kelly to take over. And it's simply impossible. And I don't think they understand that. So I think we really have to, and Brian and I always say, it's like, we just simply can't. And sometimes that teacher, they know the child. They are the first line for how that child is coming in the day. You know, if they're crying, don't text me. Pull them to the side, get a do now and pull them to the side. So that's like a frustration. I know I need to move out of frustration and into compassion and understanding and help, but that is a big area that I'm really glad other schools are really saying that's an area we should work on more.
And still other responses to that question of what are some of those things when you think about the work that still has to be done?
I think to make this work successful, there needs to be some changes that come directly from the district, right? Because I think and you have to engage parents. Parents are your voice. Parents are your fighter. We're ready. We want to. All you have to do is educate us. Give us the data, and we are your voice. But I see changes need to happen from high up, right? From the CEO's office to CTU, there has to be a buy-in from everyone. We need to all be speaking this language also to our legislators. You know, we were fortunate enough to have Senator Durbin, Congressman Quigley, and this is what we, you know, presented to them. because we have a health clinic in our school. We have great partnership with Northwest Side Housing Center, but at times we hit the wall because of the bureaucracy in the system. And in order for us to create change, it has to change from above. So I'm ready to be one of those parent leaders that does hold the district accountable. Just like we requested new fields, right? We're a neighborhood school. Neighborhood schools do not get the resources, but we have the biggest issues, right? And then we're expected, to go up levels and provide all the resources, but no one's giving it to us, right? It takes even fields. Our kids were running on fields that all they were gonna do was hurt themselves. And we have won with parents that $4.5 million project, and it has changed the quality of the perspective of our students. They feel valued. And I think it's the little things like that that we need to continue to hold the district accountable. I am a CEO Jackson's accountability partner, and we need to really make some changes from above.
And along with that, with changes in buy-in, I do agree, when you start hearing some of the ratios, 250 to 1, like you mentioned, and then, you have counselors with 800 to 1. You may have, let's say 250 to 1, and let's say you have the right amount of counselors that you need, or clinicians, or whatever it may be. But if you're at a school that has students that don't really have the amount of challenges, ACEs, that you're trying to work with, it may take a ratio of 100 to 1, or 50 to 1. And so you can't use a one-size-fits-all model. It's very difficult if you're truly going to serve the communities and the students to make sure they have the resources they need. It is messy. It was mentioned earlier, and that word stuck with me. It's messy. It takes time. And sometimes it does require, having an administrator, a counselor, the dean of discipline, 3 or 4 more community partners in a meeting for 2, 3, 4 hours at times. But it's hard when you're trying to, raise your metrics and do this and compliance and look at content and all these other factors. But it is important to have the resources and have that flexibility to know that sometimes you can't get to point B until you address all the stuff at point A.
I was just thinking about, as we're sitting here, the collaboration. I think we do a great job at Riverdale School collaborating with each other. But the other part I see that we can work on is teachers trusting the process. When you come into, we have new teachers, and when we are sharing things and letting them know about the community, about the students, ask questions, but also trust where you're at, and that we've been here. We love these students. We know the community. Ask questions and be open to try something different. We have a lot of processes and programs initiated by our district. We have Capturing Kids' Hearts, Restorative Justice. We do circles, and the students, they are aware of these things in our social contracts. And when something goes on in our school, and the first thing they say was, Ms. Bivens, they didn't follow the social contract, because the social contract states that you should be respectful, and what they did was not respectful. And they're able to do that. And as we have new people that come into our schools, they should also be able to follow that contract, because when you build relationships with the students will call you out on things that you are doing that's not right. They'd be like, that is not a part of the social contract. He needs to give us 2 put-ups. And they will say things like, we need to have a circle, because things that the little girls are doing, they're being a little chatty, mean girls. And we do something called the friendship lunches. So we sit down and we have a conversation about what's going on and how we can change that. And everybody has to buy into that. So our students have to be comfortable. They are comfortable. Let's say that they are comfortable. They don't have a problem in coming up to you, Ms. Tommy, this is happening. and they know that we will listen. But also new people that come into the building have to be able to buy into it and believe in the process as well.
I think the question, what's something that illustrates how far we have to go still? And, everywhere I've worked, I feel like sometimes I'm just scooping water out of the boat. And I see people nodding their heads. And I think part of that is that we are addressing, the symptom of the problem. We're addressing all the stuff that comes up because of the horrible things people have to go through due to the way the world is set up. And so when I think about that, I think about undoing the systems that have caused most of these problems. I think I'm getting really worried about the fact that maybe we are teaching children in the classroom things other than what's going to solve the world's problems. And I think that solving the world's problems is directly tied to also solving the causes of the trauma that these kids are experiencing. So I think it's really, it's time for our our professional organizations to get political. I don't even like the word political, humane, compassionate, rational. And it's time for our parents to be empowered with that knowledge. It's time for our kids to learn about the neighborhoods that they grew up in and why their neighborhoods look the way they do. Instead of just being born into places where they don't have access to that because they have to learn the Common Core. So we're talking about big ideas today. That's where I come from. I really think it's time that we think about what we're teaching children, what we're being asked to teach children, and who that's benefiting, and if that's benefiting our kids and our communities in a way that's going to solve the world's problems.
And then one of the last question that I'd like you guys to weigh in on is, what are some of the signs that give you hope that this journey will be fruitful?
Asada?
I maybe she had to go back to school or something, but yeah, like, exactly, she had to go back to high school. Come on, if she could do that, us as adults with all of the resources and skills, and like, as she said, all of our degrees, if she could do what she's doing, there is absolutely no excuse for any of us. And so, yes, what are some of the things, and all of the other examples, because there are many out there, there are many Asadas out there. What are all of those other things that keep us hopeful that this journey will be fruitful?
I think the journey of it being fruitful is that you have, as a teacher, you have to recognize when you have trauma. I didn't realize I really had trauma. Like, I knew I had went through some things. Being a wife at 25 and basically turning into a widow overnight, being a single parent, in school, in college, trying to take care of our child. I didn't know that I was actually in trauma. Like, I was the strong one. Make sure everybody was okay, make sure everybody was doing what they were supposed to do. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I got my degree. Hey, I'm doing great, I'm doing fine. And it recently dawned on me that I'm not. Because I haven't really addressed the drama and the trauma in my life. My thing was just trying to save the kids. I guess from going through the drama and the trauma that I went through, that I really hadn't healed properly for myself to be able to help my students. And that's where, as an adult, you have to realize now you need help, because you can't do everything by yourself. And I'm learning how to turn over and ask for help and start assuming that I'm going to be okay. Everything is okay. So now I'm taking the help that I need to be not just healthy mentally, emotionally for myself, not for just my family, but also for my students. I have to have it across the board, because I was always worried about everybody else and forgetting about myself. And now I realize that no, in order to help everyone, you have to first help yourself. So now that I realize I can need help for myself, now that I know that I can help, once I have helped myself, I can help others in a more healthier way. So it's not always about me trying to save them, it's about me trying to save me, because I'm the one that has to be the one that have to carry everyone. But if I can't save myself, how can I carry everyone else? So that's what I just discovered about myself. I guess I find myself to be the late bloomer. But when it comes to my students, I want them to understand that there are so many dreams out there for them, and that I'm not going to give up on them. That at the end of the day, yes, I tell them my story because I need them to understand where I came from, that I'm no better than who they are and where they're going, because I need to understand that I didn't have the best upbringing in life. I went through the same situations that you have been through. And I don't want you to think that I have never forgotten where I came from. And I don't want you to forget where you came from, but I don't need you to make excuses. I want you to continue to strive for the best, because that's your reward. And I want them to never give up, because I have kids that quit on me. And I'm like, no. Like yesterday, I was doing Girls in the Run. And I had one student, she wanted to give up. She was like, I didn't bring my clothes. I was like, so what? We're going to still walk this out. We're going to run if we need to. I'm not going to leave you. So she cried. I'm like, let's go. We got this. And she's like, I don't want to go. I'm like, we're going to go. And we walked and we walked. And sometimes she sprinted. So if she ran, I ran too with her. Because I didn't want her to know that just because you're not equipped at that moment for any dream or anything, that someone is going to be there to carry you and support you no matter what. And that right there said, so what was the crying for? She was like, for nothing. I said, did you get it done? She said, yeah. I said, so now you know you can tackle anything that comes your way, whether you equipped for it or not, just go for it. So that was one of my highlights yesterday. And it was just a lot of highlights that I got yesterday from a lot of parents as I walked through the neighborhood, as we was doing Girls on the Run yesterday. I ran into my former parent. She was telling me how great her student is and how he graduated from high school and how she was proud of him and how she thanked me for being his teacher. And I ran into another set of kids that jumped out of college, Miss Tony. And I was like, what's going on, boys? And they was like, Miss Tony, everything is good. You know, I got to get back in school. I'm gonna go back and be a licensed electrician. I said, you better, because if you do it, I'm going to tell everybody who you are, and they're going to trust you to come into their household and take care of them. So it's just me just knowing that everything's going to be okay. But we have to be real with ourselves about our issues. And even if our issues don't look like our students' issues, we have to be sympathetic and empathetic and compassionate towards them. And be real about who you are. Share your stories with them. Because if you don't share who you are, how can they share who they are?
Could you believe she almost did not come up on stage? She had anything to say. So thank you for taking that risk.
So this is not my story to tell, and my husband always says that, Jean, you should let people tell their own stories, but the person, well, Michael could probably tell it, but something that gives me hope is we this year started implementing circles and training around circles for our teachers and for our students. And it was an agreed upon by the whole school that we were going to do this practice, but people were very apprehensive, naysayers, you know, we were all over the board. And one of the teachers who we tried so hard to get to come today, and we allowed her to bow out. This is not her scene to be up on a stage and talking. So I'm gonna tell hers and Michael's story, and I'm probably gonna butcher it. But she was someone who really embraced the circles and the practice of circles and really embraced learning about it and teaching, using it as a teaching tool for all sorts of things. So she was doing, it's a second grade teacher, she was doing a sort, and it was basically like, is this tattling or is this something else? Here's where I'm destroying the story. And as she was going through grading this paper, just looking at what kids' responses were and how, I think she was just trying to get like a bird's eye view of like, how do kids see different situations and how they should be handled? And it was basically a T chart, and this kid had made another column and said, this requires a circle, a second grader. And that for me was like, Michael brought it down and I was like,
yes, this is what we're talking about. This gives me hope. This is that it's getting into kids' minds, it's getting into kids' hearts, it's getting into teachers' hearts that we need to seek to understand through communication and collaboration and about where people are coming from and why the choices they're making are the choices they're making. But if we don't understand that through communication and through collaboration, we won't get any further than where we are right now.
What's giving us hope in Belmont Cragen is the Resilient Belmont Cragen Collaborative, the West Side Collaborative. Having a site also for parents, because we're seeing this approach internally at Steinmetz, but as an organization, we said, what good is it for us to be resilient inside the school when we go out to the community and we can't be resilient, right? That our kids go back to those traumatic situations. So we're excited that we have a peri-university site where we are talking about trauma, where we are talking about ACEs, where we're partnering with Lurie Hospital, with BCC, with so many partners that are knocking on our door. They're coming to us and say, we're here to help and we're here to change the quality of life of your parents. So that's what makes us excited, and we know that we're gonna create change in our community.
I just want to say that what gives me hope is coming to work every morning and looking out on the playground. And all these kids from all these other cultures running around and playing with each other and laughing. And I know they're from war-torn areas and I know what's going on, and I just like missed up. I'm so lucky to be there.
We still have a lot of work to do, and that's one thing to keep in mind is that the work never ends. It's always going on, it always changes, and there's always challenges. But one thing that gives me hope is that when we started this work, 5-6 years ago, about 5 years ago, people didn't know the terminology. They weren't familiar. They weren't really being included. And since we started the work, we've had about 3 or 4 meetings where we were able to invite community members, business owners, faith leaders, police department, other schools, elementary schools, and we had a discussion about resiliency, about ACEs, about trauma, and about thinking how we change our own practices and change the practices inside of the businesses and organizations so that when we send students or parents come in at elevated level, or a customer comes at a level 10, and how to recognize those things and to be able to get through to them and offer the help and listen to them to see what is it that they need, and we don't re-traumatize them. As a result, too, of the quality of life plan and all the work of resiliency, the 25th District Police Station, which is one of our partners, we're the only district in the city of Chicago that is actually piloting a community policing model similar to New York City. And that's all as a result of all of our combined work as partners. And it's exciting to see that. So it gives me hope that hopefully we're going in the right direction, and hopefully this continues to spread throughout the community so that we are working to help everyone in our community.
So round it up. I'll ask them just to stay seated just for a moment, just to make the transition a little bit easier. And while you are kind of just introducing stuff, while Chelsea's introducing herself and what we're about to do, then we will. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It's been a long morning, but it's been an amazing morning. My name's Chelsea Biggs. I'm with the Illinois Collaboration on Youth. In my out of work time, I'm also an ALSC member for Uplift High School in Uptown. So from every part of my life, I thank you for everything that you do and for coming here today. So I think we should all give ourselves a round of applause. Okay, great. So as we get started, I would like to go through just a general learning agreement. So We're gonna take a few moments to kind of start to apply some of the things that we've been learning today. So we're gonna brainstorm in small groups at our tables to think about how can we take this information, this knowledge that we're learning today, and apply it to the work that we do. So a couple things to think about at your tables. We don't want just one or two people to dominate conversations. So make sure you listen. You don't have to respond to everything everybody says. Just allowing and being comfortable in silence sometimes allows other people at the table to put together their thoughts or maybe build the courage to say something that they've been thinking. So kind of being conscious of that. And the final thing within our learning agreement is around keeping conversations at the table. So a phrase that one of my colleagues shared with me, a social worker, is what's shared here stays here and what's learned here leaves here. So just being really respectful of people's stories, but also taking some of those nuggets of knowledge and taking them with you. So if you could break up into groups or at your tables, if you're at a small table, you can connect with a table near you. And just start going through some of this stuff. So everybody should introduce yourselves, share the setting you're in, your role, the work that you do, and then start kind of talking through some of the things you heard today that really stand out.